Lynn Jones. I am the chair of the Oconee County Conservation Bank Board. It is Tuesday, April 16th. We do have a quorum. This is a special called meeting to discuss a application for funding. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And before we get to our discussion item, everyone should have received the minutes from our February 6th meeting. Is there a motion that we approve them, or does anyone, is there a motion that we approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
And is there any discussion? So all those in favor?
Aye.
So that's approved. And Taylor, if you would like, I think I hear Ryan, if you would like to give us our treasurer's report for the first quarter of 2024,
Sure.
which everyone should have received as well.
Yes. For the period ending January 31st, 2024, for our Community First Bank account, we had an opening balance of $480 and ending balance of the same amount. For the period ending February 29th, 2024, for the Community First Bank account, we had an opening balance of $480, same amount as our ending balance. For the period ending January 31st, 2024, for our local government investment pool, we had an opening balance of $376,135.65. We had an ending balance of $377,927.96. So a reinvestment amount of $1,792.31. For the period ending February 29th of 2024, again, for the local government investment pool, we had an opening balance of $377,927.96, an ending balance of $379,599.72. And then jumping back to the Community First Bank account for the period ending March 31st, 2024, opening balance of $480, ending balance of the same amount. And then finally, for the period ending March 31st of 2024, for our local government investment pool, we had an opening balance of $379,599.72, had an ending balance of $381,385.18, reinvestment of $1,785.46.
Thank you. Do we need to approve those or just accept them as they are?
Yeah, I move we
Okay.
approve, accept and approve the treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report?
Aye.
Grant status?
I don't, there's been no updates.
Okay,
Because,
thank you. So our main item is discussing the Fall Creek Headwaters application for funding. And do we have that, Jennifer, on the screen? Okay. So let me find it on my... And today, what we're going to do is collect questions, inquiries. Ryan, do you want to, can you see that? Do you want to switch with me? Because I've got it on my iPad. Or can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay. Which we're then going to submit to Upstate Forever about the property, about the application, anything along those lines. And then we'll have some homework, which I'll talk about. But I'll just start out with opening it up to the group. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the application. And are there any questions? And Ryan, do you mind collecting the questions?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I had one for clarification. In the application, it says the landowners are going to give funds for an endowment for stewardship and monitoring, and I guess enforcement. That's, and this really will be a question for you, Chris. It's not gonna be part of the transaction, right? That's something that'll happen separate and after the. Yeah,
Oh, this saves a step, doesn't it?
Maybe.
No, fire away.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you guys can ask all the questions you want, I'll answer the
Okay.
best as I can.
We
The
can-
endowment is something that,
I'm sorry, Chris, will you just take a minute and introduce yourself?
absolutely. My name
Thank
is
you.
Chris Starker. I'm Land Conservation Manager at Upstate Forever, and this is one of my projects. I have known the landowners. We go way back to my paddling days. So once upon a time, I used to work with them. So it's a pleasure to come full circle with them 15 years later and help them protect a property that they find very special. And I can't disagree with them at all. I think it's a wonderful piece of property. When we work with landowners to protect their property with a conservation easement, Upstate Forever is required, we're obligated by the IRS in perpetuity. This is forever. This is 100 years from now, when none of us are here, 500 years from now, whenever, to continually monitor this property. And by monitoring it, what that means is we are protecting those conservation values that the IRS recognizes as part of their charitable contribution. Which I think is stated somewhere in this. So basically it's habitat is what we're protecting as far as the IRS is concerned. Great water quality. Upstate Forever will be on this property at least once a year to make sure that those values are still there and to protect them. And what that means is that, you know, Jody and his wife will not be there forever. There will be a new landowner at some point, and there will be new staff at Upstate Forever, and we have to continually work with these landowners to educate them on what a conservation easement means and what they can and cannot do with that property. They will have adjacent landowners who may or may not recognize property boundaries. We will have to ensure that there is no trespass or dumping. In short, in protecting these things, there's a cost to that. There's staff time, there's travel time, there's equipment, there's things that we need, and that has a cost. And we are able to generate a number that we ask the landowners to contribute to Upstate Forever. We don't, it's not a part of this grant application, but we do ask for them to make that contribution to us, which we put into an endowment that generates enough income or interest for us to be able to do this in perpetuity. And that's, in addition to that, part of that goes to what's called a legal defense fund. And that is if we had to mediate or litigate in any way to protect those conservation values, because we are obligated to do so. We have no choice. And, you know, if that, we're finding that as we have more and more land in conservation easements, and especially as we see landowner changes, we find ourselves in this situation more often than we'd like. Original landowners, when they put their land on a conservation easement, they know what they're doing, they love that land, they want to protect it, not a problem. It's usually the next cycle of landowners. And so that's that's something that we take very seriously, to sit down with these new landowners and make sure they know what's going on with a conservation easement. So these landowners, more likely, we have an application going to the Upstate Land Conservation Fund as a match for this as well, and the State Conservation Bank, and they will likely use the funds from the Upstate Land Conservation Fund for their endowment. It won't be a part of this transaction.
good,
You
thanks.
will not see it on the closing statement.
Yeah, appreciate that, Chris. And you know, I think you know the reason why I brought it up is that, you know, our grants are only for the cost of the transaction, including
Yeah.
the price of the conservation easement, but not, and we've always interpreted that to mean not for endowments, not for stewardship
Absolutely.
monitoring. So just wanted to clarify that endowment's not part of the actual conservation easement closing. And that's what you said.
So
Appreciate that.
that was one of my questions, was if the Upstate Land Conservation Fund and the Conservation Bank funds don't come through, how does that impact this, but you're saying that that money's not going towards the easement, that's going to to a separate,
Well, what we ask is, so I'm gonna get into accounting here, and I'm not an accountant, so I beg your pardon if I misstate anything here. On a real estate transaction, there's a settlement statement or a closing statement. It has HUDs and so on. It will list all monies coming in for the conservation easement and monies going out, monies going to the landowner. For projects that we have in other counties that do not disallow funds for an endowment, we can put that on that statement so that that money comes to us. In other words, I'm sure most of you have probably bought a house, or sold a house maybe, that's money in, money out, and there will be a line item for an endowment. You can do that on a closing statement. We have done that on many projects, but not for Oconee County bank-funded projects. That will not be a line item. How the landowners decide to make that contribution is completely up to them. And theoretically, that money will come out, they'll get a check for that process, they'll go deposit it in their bank, and then they're gonna turn around, they're gonna write a check, and they come to us. And that money, it may or may not be money from the Oconee County Council. There's no way of knowing. It could be money that they've got in savings the whole time. We don't know. But it will not be on the ledgers.
okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Does anyone else have any questions? Concerns? Great time to have them addressed.
Hey, one thing is purely technical. Section 4, number 14, there's no signature by you guys on that? I think the applicant needs to sign
It's
that.
on page 13, Andy, I think.
I do apologize. That is,
Right.
No biggie, but, yeah. I saw Jody's signature, so I know that signatures are on some of the stuff, but.
yeah, chances are that I have Scott's signature on that, and
Can't hide our attorneys on this board.
looking for that application.
Jennifer, I think it's to the top.
Our application?
Yes.
Yes, not theirs. It's page 13. There you go. That's it. Thank you.
Right there?
No, ma'am, one more. That's it.
I see it.
14.
I apologize. I can get that to you.
Okay.
I have Scott's signature on that page,
No worries.
and I just did not slip it in.
That's just, you're right. That's something a lawyer would bring up. It's just so nitpicky.
It's okay,
I don't know. It says
We all-
applicant
I don't know if I
agrees.
can trust them.
I think we like it when people agree. So, if we don't have any questions,
One last question.
and then you go ahead.
Have y'all seen an Acadian flycatcher
No,
on that property?
I haven't seen one. I would love to.
Tell me if you did.
Okay, will do. Have you guys ever used, we're getting off track here. There's the Merlin app.
Yeah.
So when I go out in the field, listening to bird calls is really the easiest and best way to identify birds, because half the time you can't see them, but you can hear them. But I guess because I'm old now, my ears pick up the cardinals and the ones that are loud, basically. So I can hear the cardinals, and I can hear chickadees, and I can hear Carolina wrens, because they're real loud. But I'll pull that app out, and it'll tell me, and there'll be a dozen birds out there that I'm just not hearing, but they're there. And it's helped me to hear them. So it's been a lot of fun to go out and just be quiet and to tune out some of those loud things. It's kind of like being in a noisy room and you just can't tune the people out. It's wonderful. But yeah, I'll let you know if I see one, because. But maybe Jody and
April.
Yeah, April. Maybe they've seen them.
We saw cedar waxwings the other day.
Very cool.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
So it says they purchased this property in 2019. I'm just curious, did they buy it with this intention? I mean, was this sort of like,
So they've picked up a few of these tracks. If you track the legal, so there's lots of deeds and stuff, so I don't know if they've bought this. That's a great question. In fact,
Cause I, for some reason, thought they had another, off-the-grid home on this property prior to 2019.
They do, I think this is their one of them's a reason for that
Yeah.
purchase,
Okay.
I think, but they've owned property there, the other parcels,
That's
I
what I
guess,
thought. That's why I was
Yeah.
confused.
For decades,
I thought they were
essentially.
up there for years.
this is technically like a combination of about 6 parcels that have kind of moved around through landowners and been, what it looked like, if you look at the old plats, and I don't know if they're included in here, but if you follow that, if you look at them, you'll see that it looked like at some point somebody was gonna carve it up. Because Blackwell, I think was the name. It looks like there's track D, E, F, and G, G1, and Jody and April have picked up piece by piece those things and kind of consolidated them into what they have. And they do have a couple of additional parcels that they're not gonna put into this easement simply because it would
I see.
kind of complicate the easement and the management of their property that they use for rental, so, and they have other properties as well, but this one, and I don't know if they bought it to protect, but they bought it because they like it, and they realized at some point that that's what they wanted to keep it that way. What they liked about it was important to protect.
Thanks, Chris.
I have a question. Have you seen any bald eagle on the property?
No, and there haven't been any documented like nests. That's kind of really, and the Fish and Wildlife doesn't give away those things. But what they will document whether there's been a sighting. DNR sometimes does. I haven't seen it up there. It's possible. It's kind of, I mean, you know, the lake's not too far away, kind of far away, but, you know, they have a pretty good range. I don't suspect that they would, it's possible, but it's not.
Well, with it being a springhead of a creek like Fall Creek, I'm curious about the Native American side of things. Like, is there rock art? Is there? There's not.
I haven't seen, they would be the best people to ask, unfortunately. They couldn't be here, they have doctor's appointments this morning. But they didn't show me any when I walked the property, and I think that would be something they'd show me. And again, it's sort of like, there haven't been any documented cultural resources on the property. It doesn't mean there aren't any, it just haven't been any seen or identified, or haven't been any archaeological surveys of any.
Pretty significant springhead, you know. I mean,
It
I think
is.
that water source would be.
Yeah, that's,
Go back.
to me, that's the highlight of that property. That is the source. It's right there. And it's got good flow. I mean, if you've seen the pictures that I showed you, that really wasn't in like in between rains or anything. It's got consistent flow in there. It's nice.
So let's reserve until Friday, Ryan, if there are any other questions. We'll submit them to Ryan. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's gonna give us a couple more days after this to go home, look it over, and then we'll get, either Jennifer or myself will get back with you with the questions.
Great.
And the other thing we need to do is set up a site visit. So, is there anyone who is specifically interested,
I want to go.
willing?
I'd love to
Okay,
see it.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
real close to where I live.
And you wanna go?
No, I'll go some other time.
Okay. So,
You've probably been there.
I'll get with you and coordinate a site visit, and you'll be there, correct?
I can be there. Yeah.
Should we coordinate with you or with them? I mean, try to get you there or just do it with them? Does it matter to you?
Well, I think that depends. I mean, I will definitely try to be there, but I feel like the landowners are going to want to be there, and you definitely have to be there. So your schedules will probably be the most
Okay.
important, and I will definitely try to be there as best as I can. I can just throw it out there that Mondays and Fridays are probably my best days.
Okay,
Only 3 of us can be there though, right?
correct.
No more than, yep.
But I mean, you schedule it whenever, and a lot of times, like I had 2 meetings today that I moved. I wasn't sure how long I would need to be here today, so, you know.
We'll find at
Yeah.
least 2 or 3 days that the 3 of us can go and offer that as a possibility and work something out.
Yeah.
Sometime between now and May 14th.
Okay.
Next meeting,
Can I add one thing?
oh, please do.
Just to be on the record, which I was I was texted a map on the way here this morning. So the U.S. Forest Service has a plan that they call the Landowner Adjustment Strategy. It's for the entire state, but it includes land that's up here in Oconee by the Andrew Pickens Ranger District of Forest. And I got a copy of a map. It won't be in your application, but it's on my phone. I'm happy to walk around and show it to you. Or I can just send it to you in an email, along with this signature page. The U.S. Forest Service has identified these tracts as priorities for protection, priorities for conservation. In fact, they would love to acquire them. So that's how important they are to them. So they have different criteria, conservation criteria. It has a lot to do with management of forest lands, whether they can get access to them, whether they can get prescribed burns and those sorts of things. But this one is this is a project that comes up as a priority for the Forest Service. So I think that's sort of another level of eyes on this property.
Jennifer, would you mind scanning down maybe 5 pages to the map that has, keep going. It's the map that has the property, I think one more. Keep going, that's it. So the map that you're gonna show us, Chris, is similar to this and shows the plan?
It
The
doesn't show the
long-term
whole
plan?
plan. What it does show is, it's a detail of the property. It's a detail of the property that shows an overlap of the property boundary along with, so Forest Service didn't map parcel by parcel to
Right.
say this parcel. What they've mapped is basically habitat ranges or I don't know what their criteria going into it was, that would say, this is stuff that we would love to protect. This is stuff that we would love to acquire. This is not important. This is land that we would love to trade. They even have that kind of level. It's different levels. And you can just see there's just a big overlap. I mean, I'll walk it around. You can
Yeah,
see
I'd
it.
like
But
to see it.
I'll send the, you can see all that pink is priority for the Forest Service. And then the green land is,
Oh,
did
okay,
it-
gotcha.
did it fade on you? Sorry. And all that green boundary is the property. So
Okay.
that's all the
That's,
upland
That's great.
headwaters surrounding that though, right?
I love this map with the property and how it relates to
Yeah.
the forest areas around there. I think that's really exciting.
And I'll send that along with
Okay.
the signature page.
And those
anything
are the
else?
Fall Creek, the Whetstone Hill, the Whetstone Preserve are all properties y'all hold conservation easements on, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
And that Fall Creek is, that's Fall Creek goes right through there, so,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
Say that again, Andy, you've got conservation.
On this map here that he showed
Can you
us.
see it?
Yeah, on this map, so if you're looking, it's basically following along Chattooga Ridge Road, sort of Whetstone Hills, kind of off, that's Conley Road up there.
I think it's exciting. So the board has some homework, and I actually printed things out, even though I normally don't print anything out. But you'll find this is an attachment that Jennifer sent. It's the Oconee County Conservation Bank Criteria Worksheet.
Great.
It's a 3-page worksheet, and everyone needs to take some time. And some of it is extremely objective, some of it might be a little bit more subjective. Fill it out, we're gonna give points for all of these areas. All this information should be found on the application from Chris and Upstate Forever.
Do it as homework.
Do it as homework,
Okay.
yes. It's like a take-home test, but you can have your study guide right there. And then when we get together in May, we will consolidate that as a group to this Oconee County Conservation Bank evaluation score sheet. And that will probably take a little bit more time than our meeting today. And let me get back to my agenda. So we'll be, in the meantime, we'll be working on this. Next meeting, we'll be voting, we'll be gathering up all the criteria worksheet. If there are any other questions that y'all have between now and Friday that we did not get a chance to have answered today, we'll answer those questions on May 14th, and then we'll finalize the score sheet. So May 14th is going to be a very important day. And I thank all of y'all for being here today on this special call meeting. It was important to get together before we make the final decision on the 14th.
Very good.
I've got just a quick question.
Okay.
On my little desktop, we have kind of the rules for going into executive session, and this may be a question for Andy. In order to finalize this, if we get to that point, we would need to go into executive session. Is that what needs to happen?
No, we do it right here.
Okay, okay. I just wasn't sure why this was here, so I make sure.
What one is that?
This is, I move that we go into executive session as allowed for in 3470A.
Oh, I have that on mine too.
That's for council.
Okay.
Not there yet, not
Yeah,
there yet.
we're not there yet.
Just wanna
We're
make
just
sure
like a
nothing-
Keep
sub,
aspiring,
we're a
buddy.
That's
subset.
the closest I wanna get in our council.
Do we have any other business? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do I need a motion to adjourn, or do I just
So
adjourn?
moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.